Released in October 1992 by Sega AM2. That is Sega Amusement Machine Research and Development Department 2. Wow, that's a tongue twister. AM2 was a major arcade production powerhouse, and in the late 80s and mid 90s developing some of the best arcade games, period. Honorable mentions include Afterburner, Outrun, Space Harrier, every Virtua Fighter game to exist, Daytona USA. Not only did they do arcade, they also went cross-platform. They developed games for the Dreamcast, PC, GameCube, PS2, PS3, PSP, Nintendo Wii, I'm rhyming like a bee, 360. So as you can see, when it comes to arcade games, for the most part, these guys were untouchable. I think the most fascinating thing about this game is that it wasn't even supposed to be released. Okay, so Sega was doing research. They wanted to tap into the full 3D models, 3D backgrounds, 3D textures. They wanted to jump into the whole three-dimensional gaming world, because at the time, games were kind of two-dimensional. Now, I'm not saying that Virtua Racer is the first full 3D game to exist. I mean, there was Hard Drivin', it did full 3D polygons, and that game was branded as a simulator. And Sega just wanted to release a full-on 3D arcade hit. So Sega went to General Electric Aerospace. GE Aerospace made some of the first 3D simulators for NASA in the 60s. Sega contacts them in 1991, inquiring about assistance to develop a new CG platform architecture for their new experimental 3D system. You've got to be kidding me, because that was in 91. This game came out in 92. It did not take them long to figure this out. Under a year of research, they came out with the technology that they call Model 1. And with this new Model 1 technology, Virtua Racer was the first game being written to figure out how this all works. Once the game became playable, internally, it was a huge success. Sega couldn't believe it. It blew them out of the water. So much, in fact, they decided to go and design a cabinet and do a commercial release of the game. Virtua Racer came in 3 different cabinet flavors. A twin cabinet, that's a standard and most common version. Essentially, it's 2 games built into one cabinet. These cabinets sport 25-inch Wells Gardner monitors and have 4 rear speakers for the audio. Both players were treated to force feedback steering and full left and right paddle shifts. That's another first right there for VR. There was also a single-player upright cabinet. Then there was the big Mack Daddy Deluxe cabinet. Primarily, you'd find these games in big, huge arcades or even in Sega's GameWorks. These were single-player cabinets, and you would sit down in an F1 car molded out of fiberglass. This game used a total of 6 airbags, 3 on each side, built into the seat. They would inflate and nudge you around when cornering. There was also one more airbag that would inflate on the back of the seat when you would brake. The seats were also fully adjustable, forward and back, via buttons by using air pressure. The deluxe version also was the first arcade game to support a 16:9 aspect ratio. Just when you thought I was done with the firsts, I come out with more. I mean, this is just insane. Remember, 1, we're talking about 1992, and 2, we're talking about an arcade game here. I mean, they really went all out on this. They spent a lot of time and money developing and building these things. I mean, it's no wonder the twin cabinet sold for $20,000 when it was brand new in 92. Okay, so all these cabinets, the twin, the upright, and the deluxe, are fully linkable via fiber optic, another first. Up to 8 players total, however you configure it. And in 1993, to celebrate the opening of Sega's second amusement park, 11,946 square feet of gaming beautifulness, Sega created a dedicated room for Virtua Formula. It was a modified version of Virtua Racer that supported a full-sized Formula 1 cockpit, 80-inch playback screens, and 32 machines running. Oh my goodness. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the gameplay. It's exactly what you'd expect. You get 3 different selections of courses, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and you race around these tracks at blinding speeds, trying to take over your AI to become in first place. And I'll tell you, the frame rate's at a solid 60, and the visuals are just stunning. I love how colorful and vivid everything is. I mean, you can look around, you can definitely see that it's not fully complete. I mean, backgrounds kind of pop in, the draw distance is a little interesting, and you know, you can see dropouts here and there. But all in all, the game just runs beautifully in the arcade. I love every second of it. Another first for Virtua Racing is that the camera angle changes to 4 different positions. You have in-car, cockpit, bumper, like a mid-level type view. Then you have like a bird's-eye helicopter type view that is just awesome. Even when the game's in a track mode, it even flashes that. Check out all the camera angles. It was the first at the time. The game does have a couple of trouble spots, however. I mean, it's nothing major other than the fact that the game is extremely hard, and here we are talking about an arcade game. And as I always say about the arcade game, you know what they're designed to do, steal your quarters, and that's exactly what this game does. You have to realize when this came out, it was $1 to play it. Maybe even more than that. Who knows? I remember when I played it for the first time in 92, it was $1 to play it. I didn't last more than a minute. One of the most expensive games I'd ever played. But the problems come in with the AI. They're just ridiculous. They're hard as hell, but Not only that, they're on a certain path. You can really see exactly where they're coded to go and turn, and if you get anywhere in their space, they'll knock you, they'll hit you, and that leads into another problem, is the collision detection. It's just whacked on this game. When you bump or nudge other drivers, it just feels very awkward. It feels almost rubbery. I know that sounds strange, but that's the best way I can describe it. And if the problems only involve the AI, then I guess we realistically have ourselves a pretty good game here. Okay, and VR was also ported to consoles. Now, this was a very hard thing to do. We're trying to replicate the most advanced arcade hardware at the time on 16-bit consoles. It wasn't gonna happen. And it didn't happen until 1994 when Sega introduced the SVP, the Sega Virtua processor. It was an extra chip, was used on the Genesis and Mega Drive version, and it was more expensive than any other game out there. This game retailed for $100 US. That's insane! Despite being scaled down drastically, even with the chip, this game got awesome reviews and rave ratings, but it depends on what version you're talking about. So here we are looking at the Genesis version, and you know what? It's really not that bad. It gives you a lot of options, free run, 2-player. The frame rate's pretty solid, and it controls really nice. Visually, well, you can see it. It's not that good, but I'm sure it's the best they could have done at the time. There's no doubt on that. Now we're looking at the 32X version, and I'll tell you the truth, I was blown away at this. I was not expecting this game to look as good as it does. You get 2 extra tracks, you get like 2 or 3 extra vehicles to drive, and just take a look at that. It looks incredible. It's 10 times better than the Genesis version. You know, when it comes to 32X games, it's kind of hit and miss. I may talk about that in the future, but this one really pulls it off. I'm very impressed with it. If you have the VR bug at all, you have to get Sega Age's remake for the PS2. Came out in 05. I'd say it's 98% arcade perfect. If you put all the things together, force feedback, 16:9 aspect ratio, airbags, 32 players linked together, the first real 3D racing game, you have to give a game like this credit. Started out as just an experiment. The only experiment Sega ever did, in my opinion, that proved to be successful. But if VR brought us anything, it brought us the Model 1 board and the very successful Model 2 and so on arcade hardware. And to show my love, passion, and respect for a game of this nature, I am proud to say I do own a 2-player sit-down twin cabinet. So, the EMU review grade for Virtua Racing Arcade.
This game gets an A-.
And if anyone wants a copy of my VR music mashup that plays throughout the entire video, just hit me up with an email. I have no problem sending it to you. And quit crowding the red box.